All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third of 6 roundtables for the Oregon metals industry, brought to you by the Pollution Prevention Resource Center and Oregon DEQ. My name is Jill Teep. I am a board member with PPRC, continuing education manager with the Northwest Center for Occupational Health and Safety at the University of Washington, and I'm your facilitator today. Our goal with these roundtables is to provide an opportunity for industry leaders to talk amongst yourselves about pollution prevention and toxics reduction. In our agenda today, I'll do a really quick kind of intro and welcome about what we're going to be talking about today, talk about some of these ideas around team building, and then we're going to hear from our industry partners, Marie Hagenlock from Gerber, Maia Halverson from Green Drop Garage, around examples around building teams and things that they've done in their workplaces. And then we're going to hear about the intern program from Lisa Cox at Oregon DEQ, and then an industry presentation from Ulises Piccini from TE Connectivity about his experience with interns at their company. And then we're going to follow up everything with a team building workshop where you'll get a chance to kind of dig in and see if you can put some of these principles in practice at your workplace and carve out a little time to get a plan together for yourself today. And we'll be wrapping up today by 11:30. And we really want this to be a dynamic and open conversation with everyone. So to that end, we encourage folks to feel free to ask questions or give comments at any time during the roundtable. You can use the chat function in Zoom or unmute yourself to chime in. And we'll have a brief break for some questions later as we need as well. And I just want to introduce quickly, for those of you that are new to the roundtables or to PPRC, the Pollution Prevention Resource Center is a nonprofit based in Seattle, but with people working in various parts of the country, including Portland. PPRC provides high quality, unbiased pollution prevention information. PPRC believes that environmental and economic vitality go hand in hand and are both necessary to protect a high quality of life. PPRC is especially interested in reducing the use of toxic chemicals. Projects include promoting alternatives to halogenated solvents in the marine, auto body, auto repair, landscaping, metal manufacturing, and finishing industries. PPRC also works with pretreatment coordinators to understand and create programs to avoid fats, oils, and greases in the sewer systems. PPRC provides free and well-researched answers to specific questions about pollution prevention through its rapid response service. You can always check us out at pprc.org. And we just want to cover that DEQ is in attendance today as technical assistance status. The Oregon DEQ has legal authority to provide non-regulatory technical assistance without concern for enforcement, unless there is a reasonable cause to believe there exists a clear and immediate danger to the public health and safety or environment. The folks from DEQ on the webinar today are acting in that role, and they are truly here to listen to your concerns and to help make changes that work for your company and the environment. And I just want to reiterate our roundtable goals here. It's to help Oregon's metal manufacturing and finishing industry prevent waste, achieve regulatory compliance, and reduce operating costs while protecting resources. We're here to listen to industry leaders like you, understand needs and barriers, support implementation of reduced toxics use, provide technical training and education, and facilitate industry collaboration. We are planning to conduct 3 more of the metals industry roundtables this year, and we really want to hear from you on our follow-up evaluation with any information you really need to hear and have in a group setting like this. So we're going to switch gears now and talk about this idea of toxics reduction team building. So I'm just going to do a kind of a quick broad overview of what building a team kind of looks like, why do we care about it, and we'll try to drill down a little bit about what is different about toxics reduction in this way. It turns out there are some good tools out there, but they're not always geared towards toxic reduction. And so we'll kind of see how this is going to play out and how we can kind of use these universal tools for this kind of work. So toxics reduction team building, what is it? It's engaging internal and external stakeholders to identify, evaluate, and implement toxics reduction projects. And I want to start off by acknowledging a couple of sources used for this brief presentation on this topic. From it's a book by Sustainable Company by Chris Laszlo, and also Teaming Up to Save Energy by US EPA's Energy Star program. And while it is about energy, there are a lot of really useful tools that translate well to this kind of work as well. So why are we talking about this topic? The reality is that businesses have minimal time and resources earmarked for these types of projects, particularly in small to medium-sized businesses. And any one individual may struggle to find enough time, effort, or expertise And building a team within your company, bolstered by external resources, can help overcome some of these challenges. So the kind of starting point with building a team is to identify internal stakeholders that would care about this process. You start off thinking about a chemical or a process that you want to evaluate, and you start thinking about who cares about this, who's going to be touched by this. And so one way to approach starting this process of thinking of who should be part of this team is to think inside out. So who is directly working with that chemical or process? Who will be impacted up and down the supply chain or waste stream? And who is going to be making the business or legal decisions for any changes that are to be considered? And here's just some ideas of internal stakeholders. There's the people who are actually doing the work. Maybe it's a tech, maybe it's an operator, but then there's also going to be a lot of different types of hats that may get involved in this kind of process. And you want them sitting at that table with your team. And in a small to medium-sized business, one person may wear many of these hats. For this example we're seeing on the right, there may be someone who is in operations and management that's also part of environmental health and safety, for example. So you'll have to think a little bit outside the box about who needs to sit at that table, who are part of your internal stakeholders. The next step to thinking about building your team is identifying external stakeholders. This can be kind of a strange step to take, because you may think everything should be just insular within my company, but there's actually a lot of value to thinking who cares about this change or evaluation process outside of my company. You know, does my customer base care about these efforts? How can this impact my marketing efforts? Maybe the cost of my product. What local or state regulatory bodies need to be engaged in the process? What resources can they offer to this process? Sometimes there's professional organizations or nonprofits like PPRC that can help add free resources and information to this process as well. So once you've started taking these steps to think about your internal and external stakeholders, the next piece of this is to start leveraging those stakeholders for their effort or support of this project. And I've kind of broken this down into 2 steps. One, understanding why a stakeholder would care about this change. What motivates their engagement in a team on this chemical or process? And this is truly how you hook someone in to help. This is how you recruit their help for this support and get them involved in this process. And then step 2, and this is the part that takes a little bit of a leap, is sometimes be ready to start the process of defining and delegating tasks to start the project. Even a skeleton plan can help others buy into the process. Leadership, folks that are going to be making decisions about this, sometimes they need to see an initial version of a plan that you can pull apart and start over and reevaluate as you go. And this is a good mentality to take with these kind of projects, especially if you have limited resources. And to that end, part of the process of team building is that you're going to be identifying barriers and additional resources you need as you identify them. As you bring in a new member to your team, they may bring in new ideas to the table. That team may have new solutions as well. But you're going to want to start skeleton plan out tasks for your project. And one approach that's highly recommended for this kind of work is taking on kind of a continuous improvement mentality, where you'll lay out some plan and tasks, start that plan, and then come back to the top as you reassess your steps from the top often. And sometimes that can mean a new team member needs to join. Maybe you need to include someone from legal, maybe you need to improve someone from supply chain, and you may have to come back to that beginning step of the process, but that's why it's taking an open mind and having that be part of your design of your approach to think in a continuous improvement mentality. Other important steps to take before you dive too deep is have a step where you're really looking at what expertise exists, what case studies have been done. Maybe there's all sorts of awards and documentation about other work that have been done in these kind of fields to evaluate alternatives. What can I learn there first? And then what resource from an external stakeholder could help my project move forward? And we'll talk about that a little bit more, about other opportunities that external stakeholders have brought for our industry partners are going to present today, as well as opportunities from, say, Oregon DEQ or that PPRC could bring to the table for you, for example. So I just wanted to show you guys some of the tools that exist to help kind of organize your thoughts around this kind of effort. And I will be sending out links to these kind of tools so you can dive in a little deeper if you'd like. I mentioned that Energy Star from the US EPA has kind of a teaming up for saving energy guidance document, and I'll send that over to everyone. But they include things like this checklist of the different types of people you may want to be part of your team. And they've got a lot of different kind of checklist ideas so you can think through who are the different players I need to consider. Now, while this is around energy conservation efforts, a lot of these ideas will translate to toxics reduction as well. So that's just a really broad, broad stroke at building a team. Who needs to be involved? Why are we doing this? And how can we set ourselves up for success and setting our expectations in a way that we know we're going to continually be evaluating this process? And so we're going to now hear from two of our industry presenters, Marie Hagenlock from Gerber and Maia Halverson from Green Drop Garage. And then we'll hear more about our internships. And then we're going to come back around to an industry presentation about the internship programs. And then we're going to kind of take some steps to think about this process we just talked about and see if we can actualize some ideas for ourselves. All right, so with that, I would like to welcome Marie. Marie, just go ahead and let me know when you'd like to move forward on a slide.
Well, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity today, and want to welcome everybody. This is a great example of us getting together and being innovative together. I welcome the opportunity, and I hope you all do so also. So I've been here at Gerber for 18 years, and I'm a facilities and maintenance manager. And along with that, 12 years ago, with the help of Alex, I got really turned on to recycling and sustainability and also environmental projects that we had. And as a result of that, I took on the opportunity. And then our corporate structure became involved in what I was doing. And we've actually put a goal together for 2030 for a corporate structure to reduce our waste to landfill to zero. And that has helped drive the rest of the companies that I deal with, along with all our subsidiaries, that we're actually doing something for the environment, as well as reducing our waste to landfill and our energy projects. I was involved with the Strategic Energy Management program through the Energy Trust for the last 2 years. Exciting opportunity. If you can be involved with the SEM team from the Energy Trust, please do so. You'll learn a lot about how to reduce energy and how to make it more productive for your teams. And with that, I'll go into the presentation.
Great.
So we started a Gerber Green Team, and as Jill was talking about earlier, you need to go out and you need to find those individuals who are concerned about the environment and how they can help, and try and bring different expertise to the table. We had like an engineer, a purchasing agent who purchases all the types of chemicals as well that we use here at Gerber. And so then we had an accounting manager. So, I mean, there's a diverse amount of people that we put into the Green Team. And our goal is to reduce waste to landfill by 3%, again, by 2030. So as we reduce 3% each year, we can get to that goal. And one of our major things was to dumpster dash. So we went into the dumpsters and figured out what we were doing and what kind of trash we had, and find out what we were sending to the landfill and how much, and start tracking that data. And what we did is we just focused on our waste streams in the production area first, and then went to the office. So what we did was we made a list of what our waste streams were, and we went from what we were finding most of to what we were finding least of. And with that, then we prioritized, the waste streams of what we had and the amounts of what we had. So we started out with 60 tons a year to the landfill, plus our glass bead, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So in order to build a sustainable culture, you need to go in and you need to get buy-in from the employees, buy-in from the supervisors, buy-in from the management, buy-in from your corporate team. And as I started this, we had no corporate structure or no goal for waste to landfill. And so this proved to be a difficult task, because when I took away their trash cans in the office, oh my goodness, you should have heard what I came up against. And set up the recycling centers, 3 different types of recycling centers in the office, and then 6 in production. So one of the things that you have to do is you have to go in and train the employees. And this is where Washington County business leaders came in. They had a great program, which Washington County Recycle at Work campaign. And that program was awesome because I was able to bring them in, talk to them. They were able to help me figure out what we needed to do. And then they came in and trained the employees as well as the office employees to bring in that structure and also get buy-in to them and get them, recycling at work. Because a lot of employees say, hey, I don't recycle at home, so I'm not going to do it here either. So that's something that you have to get by through, and you have to let them know what the opportunities are and what's going to happen, how it's going to help the environment, as well as decrease cost in what you're doing. So we did talk to several of our suppliers and asking them also, hey, we have several items that come in from our suppliers that I have actually got them to take back and reuse, like desiccant sacks. That's one of the biggest things that we have here, because we have a lot of glass bead coming in and it has to stay dry. So they actually take all those sacks back and reuse them. Another one is plastic barrels that we have DI water coming in. So they take those back too. So we don't have to then recycle them. They take them back and reuse them. So there's some things that you can work with your suppliers to help them also reuse and recycle what they're bringing into your plant. And then we did a survey to see how we could improve the recycling. Once we got started and we took away the coffee cups in the vending machine, we took away the paper plates, the napkins, the plastic forks, and we provided our employees with, water bottles, coffee cups, and silverware. Because as we are a recreational company too, we also have reusable camping gear that we use. And so we gave those out to all the employees so that they can reuse them every day when they come in with their meals. And so we did a survey. We figured out from that survey that they wanted to improve the recycling, but they didn't have that bin next to them. So in several locations in the production areas, we had to have recycling bins, which Washington County gave me several great recycling bins to put right beside them so they would recycle. And it was easy for them to do. So you have to make it easy for them to do and provide a container which says what goes in it, what doesn't go in it. And then we have several TVs throughout the facility. And so you can put, what you're doing. If you're bringing in a new recycling process, like we started baling not only our cardboard, but we started baling plastic sacks. And so that was a new thing that we did last year with International Paper. And that way we can put it on the TV, we can bring the new recycle bins in and present it with emails as well as meetings when we meet with the teams. So putting them on the TV is great. People love to see their names on the TVs. So I also have an air leak tag program. So if you find an air leak and you post it and the maintenance team comes out and fixes it, your name goes in on the TV and the free prize that you get for doing that. So that's always great to try and use the TVs that you have in your areas in production. Put some TVs in there. They're not very expensive anymore. Program is easy. Somebody can take control of it and you have a win-win. The other thing I want to bring out is also I had great participation from Washington County to help me get to where I am today. And it made me innovative, and it also made us brainstorm a lot of things that we wanted to improve in here at Gerber. So you can go to the next slide, please. I have on and off lights, automatic lights in all of the offices. So my light just went off because I wasn't giving enough motion. So I had to put a little bit motion. That's why I got dark. So how did we recycle used glass beads? So what we did was our biggest landfill thing was we were sending 52 to 92 tons of glass bead a year to the landfill. And this was a big thing for the 5 of us in the green team to look at. And we went, oh my goodness, that's the one we want to start with first. And so what we did is we thought, well, we could go to our supplier who's supplying us with the glass bead, right? And see what they're doing and find out other companies that are using the same glass bead and what they're doing to recycle it or how are they using it. Well, that was no help because everybody was putting it in the landfill. So we thought, okay, now we have to call other companies that actually make the glass bead and see what they are doing when they sell it. And do they offer any assistance or anything that could help us recycle the glass bead? And no, they didn't do that. So after several types of calling and looking around, the United States, we tried to then think, well, what other thing can we use besides glass bead? And so we thought, well, walnut shells, a lot of companies use walnut shells to clean off metal burrs and give them a finish on their particular products. Well, we tried that with engineering and with the glass bead operators, and we found out it doesn't take off the metal burrs enough, and it doesn't give us a fine finish on our knives. So when you grind metal, you have burrs on them, and it has to have a process to clean them off and then give a nice fine finish to it so that it looks nice to the consumer. Well, that didn't work at all. We weren't able to take it off at enough. So we tried some other materials that didn't work either, that the manufacturers helped us with, but that didn't work either. So it took us about 6 months that we did some calling around, and one of the engineers that we had at the company at the time called up Clean Blast, which is it's in Portland, Oregon here. They not only provide sandblasting equipment, but they also sell the media, different types of media throughout the United States. And we had them come out, and they have to sample the used glass beads. So they don't want any impurities in it. I've met several other sustainable individuals, and they have impurities when they use the glass bead. You can't have any impurities except for the fine metal shavings that you would have after using it. So they said, perfect, this is perfect, we can use this. And so what they do is they come in, they sample it, they have a bin for you to put the used glass bead in, they come in, they take it away and give us a new one, and it goes like that. And so once we started that, I found out that our ceramic media, which is also a deburring process that goes through different types of knives and different types of multi-tools, the ceramic media comes in 2-inch chunks. And by the time we get done using them, they look kind of like a BB. And so I asked them again, Clean Blast again, I said, can you use this? And they said, yes. Of course, they did the sampling, found out there was no impurities. And so we have more savings from the landfill by using that also. So I was able to get save the waste to landfill by using both of these, ceramic media and the glass bead. So we currently are recycling 529 tons of glass bead and ceramic pellets. And I'm now working with them on our grinding wheels, because when you sharpen knives, you have large grinding wheels that are left over, as well as when you're beveling, you have grinding wheels left over. So by the time you get done using a grinding wheel, it's not as big as it was, it's really little. So the green team now is looking at we have to crush them up. We have to crush them up and ensure there's nothing inside of them that would not be sustainable for them to use. So I just want to ask it, does anybody want to guess how they reuse the glass bead in the pellets that Clean Bass takes from us? I have a hint. It's a mixture that they use to strengthen. Yep, you're right, Tommy. It's roads. So actually what they do is it makes the asphalt stronger and the concrete stronger. So it's a mixture into the asphalt and the concrete. So it's a win-win solution. They get to sell our used glass bead to them. They pay us for it, they take it away, and then they sell it. So it's a win-win situation. And so, you know, it's something that it took us a long time to get there, but once we had a team together and we were able to brainstorm and come up with some reasons, and, you know, it took a lot of phone calling, let me tell you, and a lot of visits to different types of companies to try and figure out what we were going to do. Does anybody have any questions, you know, that they would like to ask?
Folks, you can always use that chat box to add any comments or questions you have at any time today as well. Well, thank you so much, Marie. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing your experience and your story and your success.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to be going ahead with our next presenter, Maia.
Oh, hi there. Thanks, Jill. And thank you, Marie. You're inspirational. My name is Maia Halverson. I'm the program director at Green Drop Garage. We have 4 locations in the Portland area. You can go ahead and proceed to the next slide. Farhad is the business owner, and he started Green Drop Garage in 2009 with 1 location focused on converting biodiesel. So cars from diesel to biodiesel. He lived in an attic space in that garage for the first year that he had the business open, focused primarily on biodiesel. And his goal was to change the car care experience and change the automotive industry for good and do the right thing, solve problems, and get it done. And so that continues to be our mission statement. He started really early on. As soon as he transitioned into more types of automotive repair other than the biodiesel conversion, he looked at ways to reduce his waste stream. So part of his goal was to be an environmentally friendly automotive repair shop. And so when he looked at parts cleaning devices, he looked at using enzymatic parts cleaners, so no chlorinated solvents are used. He looked to work with vendors to recycle all used oil. We purchased back the re-refined oil, and then he wanted to recycle everything he possibly could. So metals, plastics, paper, water, light bulbs, batteries, tires. And I still can find information from 10 plus years ago with discussions about how can we recycle more? What are the other things that we can do to move forward? Jill, you can go to the next slide. So, building external partnerships was really huge to him at that time because he wasn't coming from the automotive industry. He dropped out of a dental exam. He finished dental school to become a dentist. And then he said, I don't want to do this. And so he really had to rely on these external partners when he was building up his automotive repair shop. He's like, what impact do we want to have? And he's like, I don't want to use plastics. I don't want to use these single-use containers. I want to reduce the chance of any harmful waste that comes out of the automotive repair experience entering this environment. And so he reached out to vendors. He discussed the use of different packaging. And it was a back and forth conversation because with the oil filters and our wiper blades, it really was a conversation about how much of this do we have to order from you for it to be sustainable for you to change your packaging. So, working alongside them was very important. And then purchasing steel wheel weights. Some folks use lead wheel weights. So it's just, those small purchasing decisions take out even the risk of things leaching into the groundwater, and then working with local places to recycle the hazardous waste whenever possible. So all this was something he built that first location on. So Jill, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And so, one location, 2009 to 2015, he had a centralized administration, he had a team, he was on site all the time. And then in 2015, he decided to expand to 2 locations. And so, as a business grows, they're gonna face challenges. And in 2015, the challenge was, how do we copy everything we've done so well with that first location? And so that was what they sought to face. And so they expanded really well. They put all of the ecological measures in place at that second location before having employees on site. And now they had 2 very well functioning, very ecologically sound locations. So fast forward to 2018, October, they decided to open another garage. And then in January of 2019, decided to open yet another garage. So Green Drop Garage expanded very quickly to 4 locations. And I started with Green Drop Garage in June of 2019. So at that time, my challenge was discovering historical knowledge that I knew existed. So I knew that from 2009 to 2015, a lot of the focus was on preventing waste from getting into our waste stream, using really progressive ways to work on our cars. But I noticed that, the employees didn't really know why they were doing it. And my question to myself was, how do we keep all 4 locations operating in this framework when we're facing these challenges, rapid growth and expansion, including our actual labor force. So we grew from about 10 employees to now 25 employees, and experienced a great amount of employee turnover. And then, 2020, I think we've all felt it's been on repeat a little bit. So the employee turnover piece is a component of some of the struggles I think the industry is still facing due to a pandemic that's ongoing. So for me, honesty was the best policy here. Jill, you can move to the next slide. I was really honest with my colleagues, the business owner, about what I was seeing as a new employee who was faced with the challenges of working to continue our eco certification and then get our eco certification for our new locations. And so I went to the only thing I am really good at, which is really thoughtful administration and communication. And I talked to everybody I could find at the whole entire company who knew anything. It's like, what do you know about this? How have you been trained on this? How has the company been educating you on this? And I was gathering my team, much like Jill mentioned, much like Marie mentioned, you have to find your key stakeholders, those people who care about what you're doing. But sometimes it's a little bit difficult. So, I asked a lot of questions. I would say, how do you keep your employees educated? How do you keep them motivated? And a lot of folks were like, well, they're just lazy. And I'm like, well, or maybe they're just not being reminded of the why behind this. Our values are very clear, and the values of the company mean that every single person who works in this company, in order for it to be a good fit, you're going to have to care about our waste reduction strategies. So having that conversation. From there, I was able to identify who was going to be the most help during this initial research phase. And then I was developing those internal resources. So as I was learning about this, I wasn't just learning it for me. I was also documenting it as I went along. So creating a basic purchasing policy that hadn't been updated since that 2015 shop opened. Developing an employee training program so that the things I was learning would also be things that the employees coming on would learn. Using all of these resources to create a resource folder in a location that people could actually access. I mean, that is a big thing I find, that folks who do this work, they'll have this amazing resource folder that 3 people can access. And so there's still that sort of gateway if someone wants to, research it on their own, or maybe they don't learn nearly as quickly as their colleague and they want that resource so they can remind themselves, right? So giving that power into the hands of your employees is really, really important. And then, going one step farther is the step that I'm on right now, which is developing an actual training campaign. So giving this information in small chunks in a timed way so that people will take a small piece of information, like, why are we trying to prevent rainwater from getting on our tires? This is why. And then next week, maybe something else related to what our efforts are currently, not expecting them to take that whole resource folder, do one training when they start working there, and then expect them 3 years later to understand all of everything that was in that resource folder. So Green Drop Garage's policy is usually we say something 21 times, because sometimes that's how many times it takes for someone to really hear the why behind it. And, asking for help, I guess, is the biggest piece of this, because as the company grows, as you're gathering your team, as you're asking your questions, as you're developing these internal resources, if it's only you that's doing the work, it won't be successful long term, so that consistency through administration is taking what you know and putting into a place where other people can access that information. And then when you do get stuck, you lean on people like the PPRC. Brittany is an amazing resource. Their office is an amazing resource. And they're also a gateway to all of the other resources in the Pacific Northwest, which is really fun. So that's just a little bit about my experience. Does anyone have any questions about any of this?
One question from that was back to Marie about what you're sending to IP. Marie, if you want to jump back in there. I'm not seeing any new questions in the chat.
Yeah. So International Paper now takes plastic bags that are clear. So they have to be clear. They also take the shrink wrap that is clear. It can't have any labels on it, or anything like that. Can't be black. It has to be clear bags, and they have to be clean. And so we bail those separately, just like we bail the cardboard. So it's in the cardboard that we bail is a ton. Plastic bags is a ton also. So, and then the International Paper comes in and picks them up. So when you have 8 to 10 bales, they'll come and pick them up from you and then pay you for that. You just need, I have the information. I can send it out to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie, and thank you, Maya, for your presentations today. We're gonna, in the interest of time, we're gonna go ahead and move forward to hearing about the internship programs. Lisa Cox is gonna give us an introduction. She's joining us from Oregon DEQ, and then we're gonna hear an industry presentation from Uli about his experience with the internship program. And it looks like, Marie, if you could put that in the chat, a contact for the paper company you're mentioning. Looks like there's interest in the chat for that. So thank you. All right, Lisa, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I know we're a little bit short on time, right?
We're a little bit behind.
Okay, so I'll just run through this very quickly. The Oregon DEQ and the Oregon Sea Grant run an internship program that is funded in part by the EPA. Next slide. It's a partnership where we provide interns to businesses for 10 weeks over the summer that are paid through this grant to assist businesses with their sustainability and pollution prevention goals. Next. So we're focusing on prevention through this program, starting at the top of the pyramid with, what we always hear about looking upstream to prevent the use of our chemicals, of our energy, of our water, etc. So that's the focus of this program. And it's in line, next slide, with the vision of Oregon to the materials management vision, which is kind of another topic we can talk about probably at another time. Next slide. Oh, that's why it was taking so long, all those slow transitions. So the program has been going on for about 5 years. Next slide. And we have had a lot of great success. We've had over 35 businesses who have hosted an intern since 2015 or 2017, excuse me. And the interns typically provide like a report that's detailed just for the business to help them realize their pollution prevention goals. And the projects are identified by the business. So businesses submit an application that identifies what project would be best for them. And then we find an intern that can help them realize those goals. Next slide. We have had many interns with many different types of businesses. These are just some few examples, so you can just run through these, Jill. In 2017 and 2018, you'll see Boeing and New Seasons and Knife River that had all sorts of projects that ranged from food waste prevention to energy reduction, like you see at Knife River, to different, we did some concrete EPDs or environmental product declarations for concrete to help us understand which have the least amount of carbon impact. And in 2020, we had different interns again across the entire state working at, for instance, Pacific Seafood and Good Clean Love, and even an architectural firm who was identifying products that had least amount of toxics in them to be recommended for buildings. So we do have a variety of projects. And I wanted to just mention that this last year we had Boeing and TE Conductivity host one of our, or several of our interns. And we're going to hear from Uli here in just a minute to talk about his experience and just briefly about the project that he and the intern worked on. Next slide. So I just wanted to give you a sense that these interns have worked all over the state and are from several different universities. So we had have a wide variety of, I guess, you know, people and places that are served from this program. Next slide. And of course, the money, which is always great to see. And I don't even think, I know that these numbers are not updated with the new year, but the businesses that have hosted the interns collectively have been able to save $2 million annually. And I'm not going to read all these, but it's really good. And it's a lot of money that's been saved and a lot of pollution that's been prevented, and even just like diversion of materials from the landfill to recycling or whatever, which is of course down the chain of our pyramid, but something certainly worthwhile. Next slide. And you can check out all of the intern success stories if you'd like on our webpage. I will drop that into the chat here in a minute and read about the details of the projects that they've worked on. I did want to, next slide, give just an example of the types of projects that we have hosted, which include that one from Boeing that I just mentioned, where the intern, keep going. Just keep going, I'll keep talking and keep going.
Got it.
From Boeing, where they wanted to reach a lot of their environmental goals in slide 17 that you'll see. And the 3 projects, for instance, that Tony worked on included a blast media management project, an alkaline soap on-site treatment project, and a vapor degreasing alternative project. Next slide. That had Boeing very interested in figuring out how they could prevent the chemicals that were being used. Next slide. So we'll just go all the way to the very end of the slides or the end of this one, which is like 24. You'll see here that Tony was working on site every once in a while. She was able to gain a lot of experience, you know, from a different point of view, which is really great for a student. And then on the very last slide, the recommendations that you'll see there is what you could get if you hosted an intern. And it includes a lot of cost data as well. 2 more slides. It includes a lot of cost data, environmental data, and typically the student presents this to management so that they can hear exactly the recommendations and the cost benefit analysis that the student does. So I know we need to go a little fast, so just go through the next 5 and I'll just talk. Another one that may not be as related maybe to what you do, but certainly a great project was with Pacific Seafood, where a simple review and collection of their chemicals revealed that they could install some really simple products to help them ensure that there was spill prevention happening on site, and that they were able to use all the chemicals that were coming, that they were storing in like a drum. So they simply put in a drum wedge for their drums that hold the chemicals, and they were able to use all the chemicals instead of having to haul them off site and pay for them to not be used, essentially. So that's on the next slide, you'll see that. And then in a different case, on the next slide, you'll see that they installed a simple water conservation project, or every time somebody walked by this station, the water would come on. It was like an automatic dispensing unit. So they pulled that because they realized how much water was being used for no reason, and they were able to actually save a lot of water. If you go to the next slide, you'll see this project recommendation. So they saved over 32,000 gallons of water annually just by not having that automatic thing on their water tanks there. So you could have all of this by applying for the program. If you're interested, please reach out to me directly. The application we've already received, and it closed technically the application date or the application due date, but if anybody here is interested, I would be really excited to work with you to figure out a way to apply if you are interested. So one of our amazing host businesses is Yuli from TE Conductivity, and he might just have a few words to offer about the process and his experience, and then maybe just a brief overview of the project that his intern Abigail completed.
Thank you, Lisa. We have a quick question in the chat about what role does DEQ have, or are the students turned over to companies for confidentiality, et cetera?
Yeah. So the students are actually, it's a great program because Oregon Sea Grant essentially hires the students. They're paid through a stipend through Oregon Sea Grant. And any confidential information goes through first your own legal before it's released. And then we have a copy of the final report that could be like in our files that's saved on Oregon Sea Grant's server. So in terms of like that extra layer of confidentiality, that's set up through Oregon Sea Grant. Plus, through our own rules, we have confidentiality rules that I guess we do certain things to make sure that it's not capable of being submitted through a public records request. So just like a lot of our other legal documents, we put it in certain terms, and then we save it on in certain places that follow those rules.
Great, thank you. All right, let's welcome Ulises Piccini from TE Connectivity.
Perfect. Hello all. So first of all, I just wanted to thank PPRC, Lisa, and Oregon Applied Sustainability Experience team for the support that they've given us here in the past couple of years. So my name is Ulises Piccini, or Ulises Piccini. I'm the EHS manager of TE Connectivity. I've been with the company for over 3 years now. I work alongside our teams to provide a health and safety environment, work environment for our employees. And over the past 2 years, I've taken a special interest in sustainability, and I've had the opportunity to partner up with local industry leading experts to reduce our environmental footprint. So TE Connectivity, just a little bit of background on our company. We're an industrial technology manufacturer. We create different products. We do have different business units, transportation, industrial, and communications. Our Oregon medical manufacturing facilities are focused on the medical industry. And we recently merged our 2 facilities here in Oregon. And as part of that merge project, we brought in an intern in 2021 focused on pollution prevention, recycling, and reduction. And that was our main focus was on hazardous waste. Our focus was to reduce alcohol waste from several of our processes. As a medical manufacturer, our processes are held to a high quality standard that can create several obstacles when developing or modifying procedures or protocols during the manufacturing process. So that brought a lot of challenges to our intern, especially when developing a waste stream identification map. We have different departments that throughout our production lines. We have different shifts, different alcohol types, equipment, and different processes. So that created, a huge task for our intern. And thankfully, we do have a lot of support and expert support from, not only DEQ, but also PPRC when we're taking a look at the overall project. Our project outcome was pretty amazing. I have to say we were super thankful to have Abigail, our intern. She successfully identified our largest waste streams and also identified several projects detailing the opportunity and the processes to decrease hazardous waste. We were able to identify a reduction of 2,100 gallons of alcohol per year, and that equal to approximately $40,000 in savings a year. The projects she identified were very simple. We were able to essentially reuse all of the alcohol that we were discarding as hazardous waste. There was also a little bit of redesign on some of the pieces of equipment, which we were able to make additional improvements, not only on the hazardous waste side, but also in ergonomics. So when we took a look at modifying our equipment, we kind of went back to the drawing board and said, how can we improve this not only on the environmental side, but also on our process and employee safety as well. So we're still right now in the developing, actually right now the project is in the making, so they're manufacturing the new design of our table, but we are already saving and reusing most of our alcohol that was being shipped as hazardous waste. So overall, the benefits from the internship program is one, there is expert support from DEQ, from teams like PPRC. They have access to multiple resources across the state, and for the majority of all the resources are free. Once you have an intern, you have a dedicated resource to focus on the project, the details and the solutions of it. For us, one of the major challenges in our facility is we do know what the problems are, but dedicating a specific resource and divert that resource from production can be challenging. And so when you take a look at a project like the Oregon Applies Sustainability, you're getting a dedicated resource to focus specifically on that challenge. And there is obviously, the opportunity to create a big impact on the environmental footprint, but also you're identified ways to save money. And last but not least, having the opportunity to work with the next generation of leaders who will continue to work for a brighter and sustainable future for all is pretty amazing. So let me know if there's any questions from the team. And thanks again. I really appreciate you guys' time today.
Thank you so much, Julie. And again, we can go ahead and take questions in the chat at any time. And if you want to, we actually have a little moment here. If there's any discussion questions that people have, any ideas that are popping to your mind that you're interested in, this is a good time to go ahead and mute yourself and ask those questions from what you've seen so far today, or new ideas that you'd like to share. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and move into the workshop section now.